Doreen Granpeesheh is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
Digital Advertising, hello, has written in and said, I'm so lucky to catch you on time. Yes, yay. And they say, I have a question regarding my niece. She's 13 months old and she's not banking baby words, not engaging with others, not walking, and loves the iPad most of the time. So thank you so much for writing in that question, Dr. Granpeesheh.
Yeah. So, yeah, how lovely of you to, be watching and concerned for your niece who's just 13.
13 months. 13 months.
13 months, exactly, 13 months. I'd love to be able to tell you one way or another. I hate having to say it's a little too early to tell, but the truth is it's a little too early to tell. The issue is that, yeah, exactly. And I just saw that she wrote in here, and they said it might be too early. So here are the things that you're going to be looking for. So first of all, there's a whole huge variety in regards to kids when they develop speech and when they develop movement, like walking. Usually one precedes the other. Some kids are going to talk first or be more vocal and a little bit slower on the motor, and some kids are going to be the opposite. Stronger on the motor, and the vocal is going to be a little bit later. So it just differs. Now, the second and 13 months is just, if you don't do either one at 13 months, there's still not enough to cause concern, because sometimes neither one of those things really starts to develop at 13 months. It's just she's barely over a year. When you say not engaging with others, that is kind of a little bit more along the lines of what's important. I guess I would do a few things if you want to kind of make it a little bit more obvious. One is reduce her time on the iPad, because it's entirely possible that she's kind of, establishing a connection with only the iPad and is not really, when your head is in something technology, this happens to all of us, right? We have our phones and we're constantly on the phone. We don't look around. And for a baby, it's important to look around, because that's where the baby's going to learn. So, human behavior, communication, connecting to others, all that is out there, not in here in the iPad. So you might want to reduce her time with the iPad. And what you're looking to observe and try, and really is important when you go back and talk to the doctor in a few months, are things like, does she look up at you when you call her name? So eye contact, response to name. Does she like turn around if you call her name? That is super important. Another one is, how does she express her needs? So does she point to objects that she wants? Does she try to get you to help with objects that she wants? That's kind of another important one to pay attention to. And then you can already start like just trying to teach her some basic communication skills. What we talk, start working first on imitation. So just sit in front of her and do this, like the basic little baby imitation type activities, and then start to see if she can start asking for things that are important to her. Like if she wants her bottle, then you can sit in front of her and try to hold the bottle and then say bottle, or try to say some variation of that. Like a lot of babies will say baba or juice, or ooh for juice, that kind of thing. Some variation which is a label for that particular thing that she's asking for. And you can do that with a multitude of things that she asks for. If you can accomplish that in the next few months, just getting eye contact, getting some basic imitation, and getting what we call manding, labeling things that she's requesting. That's a huge accomplishment, and that'll also help very much with the doctor being able to diagnose one way or another. You're
I did it to myself. I love that answer. It's a hard answer because, when we get told over and over and over again, early intervention, early intervention, early intervention, then when you start to see things, it only makes sense that you want to start to intervene. And I love that she says, is there something that we can do in the meantime? And there have been studies recently that have, and this is an idea that you guys have been talking about as long as I've known you, Dr. Granpeesheh, that in some cases, if you start to notice that a kiddo is missing milestones, if you get in and intervene, it's entirely possible that the child will gain the skills and never get to the point where they get the diagnosis. Like you could potentially head it off at the pass. Now, it used to be that there were certain resources that we would have given you that would have had all of the curriculum and already had it age normed for you. That isn't available to the public right now. So, is there a place, Dr. Granpeesheh, that we can send somebody that you're aware of? I can, we've been telling people to go to the Autism Partnership Foundation to get training on how to do ABA. But in terms of finding the milestones and what kinds of things, like what you were talking about, working on joint attention and that, what what do you think?
Yeah, I guess I would do two things. I mean, here's like, there's unfortunate. So, like, I'm just going to tell you resources that are online, right? So, you can probably, for normal development, there's a really good developmental test called the Brigance, and it just lists out kind of what you are supposed to do at different age levels by month, right? By 6 month intervals. So that's a good place to look. Brigance, Brigance, and I'm pretty sure you can either purchase it or you'll see the questions online. In terms of the other thing I would probably do is I'd look up the symptoms of autism, because just as you were talking, Shannon, I was thinking of a couple of other things that the DS Digital didn't name, which have to be present if you're going to get a diagnosis. So, for instance, is the child exhibiting any kind of repetitive self stimulatory behavior? So, those would be things like hand flapping, gazing at objects, toe walking, lining up their toys. All of these types of things would be super important to tell a doctor when you go see them. And then also another question I would have is like, are there any sensory sensitivities? So what I would do is I would kind of look at symptoms of autism and make sure you actually list those when you see a doctor. You don't have to wait 6 months, by the way. If you go through the symptoms and you see like, oh my God, yes, this, and this, then go back right away, right? Go back and tell them, I forgot to tell, I didn't realize I should tell you that she also does these things. But if you don't see them, then yes, wait. Now, while you're waiting, do those things that are in the Brigance, right? There you go. Thank you. And it's like all those things that are listed. It's like mostly at this age, it's going to be a lot of imitation, both nonverbal and verbal. It's going to be a little bit of requesting, and then obviously there's other things you can teach too. You can start teaching stuff we teach our kids, like the colors and that kind of stuff. It is a little early, I have to tell you, but the Brigance will help you, give you ideas.
Okay, I'm finding a tool that gives you free. It's a website for free tools for the Brigance, and I'm going to stick that in the chat here. Because somebody wrote in and said, "Can you please tell us that name again?" So it's in the comments now wherever you're watching. I always, when we get to doing the toy, because in December we have the whole festival of toys. One of the things that was the most fascinating to me was because, my son had language and lost it. But the first time I watched a therapist sit down with a little 49-cent thing of bubbles, y'all, 49 cents worth of bubbles. And she sat there and, she blew the bubbles, but every time she blew the bubbles, she'd say, "Buh, buh, buh, bubbles," and then she would blow the bubbles, and eventually she started pausing before she would blow, so she'd go ba ba ba, and my child, he wouldn't say anything at first, but he would just go which is
Yeah.
that imitation that you're talking. Then eventually she waited until he said "ba," and within a week she got him to say "ba ba"
Yeah.
and shake that into bubbles. And that was how we started, because he wanted those bubbles.
Yep.
And he loved those bubbles, and it definitely got his focus. I've always loved that, and remember that 49 cents. You don't have to go buy something expensive. 49 cents worth of bubbles.
Thanks for watching Autism Live. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.